The council chamber on Helios Prime Station was massive. Hundreds of aliens from across the galaxy filled the curved seats that rose in circles around the central platform. Some had wings, some had scales, and some looked like living crystals. They all came from different worlds, but today they all agreed on one thing. The humans were funny. Ambassador Day stood on the platform below, his gray hair neat, his uniform clean and proper. He had been a military man once, an admiral who commanded ships that protected Earth. Now he was a diplomat, and he had learned to keep his face calm even when people laughed at him. They were laughing now. On the massive screen behind him, images from Earth's cultural database played for everyone to see. Ancient Greek warriors with bronze shields, Norse gods throwing lightning, Japanese samurai with their swords, Chinese dragons breathing fire, stories of monsters and heroes, wars and conquests, victories and defeats. "These are your myths," Counselor Crick said, his bird-like head tilted to one side, his feathers ruffled with amusement. "You actually believed in these things?" "They are stories from our past," Day said quietly. "Every culture tells stories." "But such violent stories," another counselor called out. "Gods of war, heroes who kill, monsters that destroy cities. What kind of species celebrates such things?" More laughter rippled through the chamber. Yuna, standing beside Day, felt her hands curl into fists. She was young for a diplomat, barely 30, and she had studied for years to get this position. She had learned 17 alien languages. She had memorized the customs of 100 species. But nothing had prepared her for being mocked. "Perhaps," Crix continued, spreading his wings for effect, "humans are still primitive. They have only been in space for 200 years. They have only 12 colonies across 8 systems. They are children playing with stories of violence because they do not understand true civilization." The laughter grew louder. Yuna opened her mouth to respond, but Day's hand touched her arm gently. "Wait," the gesture said. "Be patient." The voting began. One by one, the counselors entered their decisions into the system. Humanity had asked to join the Galactic Council as full members. They wanted the same rights and protections as the other 847 species who already belonged. The result came quickly. Humanity was accepted, but only as observers. They could attend meetings. They could speak if asked, but they could not vote on any decisions. They had no say in galactic law. And most importantly, they had no protection if someone attacked them. "You are part of the council now," Crix announced with a tone that was almost kind. "In time, perhaps, when you have grown beyond your violent myths, you may earn full membership. For now, learn from us. We have had peace in this galaxy for 3,000 years. We have forgotten war. You should forget it too." The meeting ended. Aliens filed out of the chamber, chatting and laughing among themselves. Day and Yuna gathered their materials in silence. "That was humiliating," Yuna finally said when they were alone. "Yes," Day agreed. "They treat us like children." "Yes. We should have shown them something else. Our technology, our science, our art. Anything but the myths." Day looked at her, and for a moment she saw something in his old eyes, something that might have been sadness or might have been something else. "The myths are who we are," he said softly. "We cannot hide from that. The myths make us look like savages." Perhaps. Day picked up his data pad and turned toward the exit. Or perhaps the myths are the most honest thing we could have shown them. They walked through the corridors of Helios Prime, past aliens who now ignored them completely. Observer status meant they were barely worth noticing. Yuna felt anger burning in her chest, but she kept her face neutral, the way Day had taught her. As they reached their shuttle, a voice called out behind them, "Ambassador Day." They turned. An enormous being stood in the corridor, at least 3 meters tall. Its body looked like dark stone with veins of light running through it. This was Molvara, one of the ancient silicon-based species. Yuna had read that Molvara had been on the council for thousands of years and rarely spoke. "Counselor Molvara," Day said, bowing his head respectfully. "Your presentation today was interesting," Molvara said. The voice sounded like grinding rocks, but somehow also gentle. "The other counselors found it amusing. I did not." "Why not?" Day asked. Molvara's eyes, which glowed with a soft amber light, studied the human ambassador. "I have lived for 12,000 years. I have seen 40 species rise and fall in this galaxy. I have learned that when a species keeps detailed records of its capacity for violence, there is usually a reason." "What reason is that?" Yuna asked, unable to stop herself. "Because the capacity is real," Molvara said simply. "Other species forget their violent pasts. They are happy to forget, but humans remember everything. You have stories about wars from 5,000 years ago. You remember every battle, every warrior, every weapon. You celebrate them." "We celebrate peace now," Day said. "Yes, you do." Molvara moved closer, and despite the alien's gentle voice, there was something frightening about those glowing eyes. "But you remember war. You remember it in detail. You teach your children about it. You make statues of warriors and name ships after battles. That disturbs me, Ambassador. A species that remembers violence so well usually remembers it for a reason." "What reason?" Day asked. "So you never forget what you are capable of." Molvara turned to leave, then paused. "The council laughed at your myths today. They think myths are fantasies, stories that primitive people tell to feel brave. But I am old enough to know better. Myths are not fantasies, Ambassador. Myths are memories written in metaphor. They are instructions passed down through generations." "Instructions for what?" Yuna asked. Molvara looked back at them one last time. "For survival. Your species has survived on a hostile world for millions of years. You fought each other for thousands of years. Every predator, every disease, every disaster tried to kill you. And yet here you are, reaching for the stars. That does not happen by accident. That happens because your species learned to be very, very good at not dying." With that, Molvara walked away, leaving Day and Yuna standing in the corridor. They boarded their shuttle in silence. As the ship undocked from Helios Prime and began the journey back to Earth, Yuna finally spoke. "Do you think Molvara is right about the myths?" Day looked out the window at the stars. "I think Molvara is 12,000 years old and has seen things we cannot imagine. If such a being is concerned about our myths, perhaps the myths concern more than just us. The others will keep laughing at us." "Let them laugh," Day said quietly. "My grandfather had a saying, 'The beaten dog barks loudest, but the quiet dog bites hardest.' We came here to join a peaceful galaxy. We brought our histories honestly. What they choose to think of those histories is their decision, not ours." The shuttle jumped to faster-than-light speed, and the stars became lines of light around them. Yuna thought about all the myths she had grown up with. The heroes and monsters, the wars and victories, the stories of humans who faced impossible odds and survived. Perhaps Molvara was right. Perhaps those stories were not just entertainment. Perhaps they were instructions, passed down through countless generations, teaching humanity a simple lesson. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and never forget what you are capable of when survival is on the line. Behind them, Helios Prime grew smaller in the distance. Ahead, Earth waited, a small blue world that had sent its children into the stars, hoping to find peace. But the children of Earth knew something the galaxy had forgotten. Hope is not a strategy, and peace is not the natural state of the universe. Peace is something you build, something you protect, and something you must be willing to fight for. The galaxy would learn that lesson soon enough. 6 months passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Life went on. Human colonies grew. Ships carried goods between systems. Everything seemed peaceful. Then the pirates came. Sebyuk Colony sat on the edge of human space, a farming world with 30,000 people. They grew food in vast fields under an orange sun. Most of the colonists had come from Earth hoping for a quiet life among the stars. They built homes and schools. They planted crops and raised families. They did not expect trouble. Captain Jin was drinking coffee in the mess hall of his cargo ship, the Morning Star, when the alarms went off. His ship was docked at Sebyuk's orbital station, loading grain for transport back to Earth. He dropped his cup and ran to the bridge. "What is it?" he called to his crew. 30 ships just dropped out of faster than light, his sensor officer said. "Big ones. They're broadcasting on all channels." Jin reached the bridge and looked at the main screen. 30 warships surrounded the planet, their weapons clearly visible. The lead ship was massive, covered in armor plates and gun turrets. A face appeared on the screen. It was alien, with gray skin and sharp teeth. "I am Warlord Threx of the Corvin Marauders," the creature said. "This colony now belongs to us. Surrender within 1 hour, or we will destroy your cities and take your people as slaves." The transmission ended. Jin's crew looked at him, waiting for orders. "Get Governor Hana on the line," Jin said quietly. Down on the planet's surface, Governor Hana was already in the emergency command center. She had been a military strategist before becoming a colonial administrator. She knew exactly what was happening. The Corvin Marauders were testing the new species. They had done this before to other young races, attack their colonies, take their people, see if anyone fights back. Her communication officer connected her to Captain Jin. "I see them," she said before he could speak. "Do we evacuate?" Jin asked. "No time. Even if we could get everyone on ships, they would just shoot us down." Hana pulled up data on her screen, information she had hoped never to use. "How many human ships are in the system right now?" 12. All cargo vessels and 1 mining ship. "Good. Send them the activation codes. Protocol 7. There was a pause. "Governor, are you sure?" "They gave us 1 hour. Send the codes now. And tell Captain Tay to move his mining ship into position." Jin smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Yes, ma'am. Sending codes now." Across the Sebyuk system, 12 cargo ships that had been peacefully loading supplies suddenly changed. Panels on their hulls opened. Weapons emerged. The crews, who looked like simple freight workers, moved to combat stations they had trained for but never expected to use. The Morning Star was a cargo ship. It had been built to carry grain and supplies, but like every human vessel, it had been designed by people who remembered history. Its cargo bays were reinforced. Its engines could push it to speeds that would break most civilian ships. And hidden in its structure were weapons. Lots of weapons. "Morning Star to all human vessels," Jin broadcast. "You know what to do. For Earth. For Sebyuk. Show them what human civilians look like." The Corvin pirates watched and laughed as the human ships moved into defensive positions around the planet. 13 small ships against 30 war vessels. It was not even a fair fight. Then Warlord Threx's hour ended, and the battle began. The Corvin fleet opened fire first, launching missiles at the human ships. They expected the cargo vessels to break apart or try to run. Instead, something impossible happened. The Morning Star's hull opened like a flower. Dozens of small weapons emerged and began shooting. The Corvin missiles exploded hundreds of kilometers away, destroyed before they could reach their target. "What is this?" Threx roared on the Corvin command channel. "They have defense systems." "All human vessels have defense systems," one of his captains reported. "I'm reading weapons on every ship. These are not civilian vessels." "They are cargo ships," Threx shouted. "Destroy them." But destroying them was not easy. The human ships moved like fighters, fast and precise. They spread out, making themselves hard to target, and they shot back. The Morning Star launched a cloud of small objects. Threx's sensors identified them as cargo containers at first. Then the containers opened, and autonomous drones poured out. Thousands of them, small, fast, and very deadly. The drones swarmed around the Corvan fighters like angry insects. Each drone had a simple purpose: find an enemy ship and destroy it. They moved too fast to shoot. There were too many to avoid. Within minutes, 15 Corvan fighters were gone. "Mining vessel approaching!" a Corvan captain screamed. It's not a mining vessel!" The ship called Beowulf had been harvesting minerals from Sebyok's asteroid belt. It was 5 times larger than the Morning Star. Captain Tay commanded it, a quiet man who loved poetry and old books. But he also remembered his military training. The Beowulf moved into the battle like an ancient monster. Its mining lasers, designed to cut through solid rock, focused on Corvan ships and cut through their armor like paper. Its cargo bays, meant to hold tons of ore, opened to reveal missile batteries. "This is impossible." Threx watched his fleet fall apart. "These are civilians, farmers and freight workers." "These are humans," one of his officers said quietly. "I think we made a mistake." The battle lasted 4 hours. The galaxy watched through news feeds, shocked and silent. Young species were supposed to be helpless. New council members were supposed to get attacked and then beg for help. That was how it always worked. But the humans did not ask for help. They fought, and they won. When it was over, 28 Corvan ships were destroyed. 2 damaged vessels limped away at slower than light speed, running back to their territory. Not a single human died. The colony had some damage to buildings, but nothing serious. Captain Jin sat in his captain's chair, exhausted. His ship was covered in scorch marks and had several holes in the hull, but it was still flying. "Morning Star to Sebyok Control. The system is secure." Governor Hana appeared on his screen. She looked tired but satisfied. "Good work, Captain. I'm sending repair crews to all ships." "Governor, the council is going to have questions. Let them ask." Hana smiled slightly. "We followed all their rules. They asked for our civilian shipping manifests. We gave them accurate information. Every ship here is civilian. We just prepare our civilians differently than other species do." On Helios Prime Station, Counselor Crix watched the battle recordings with growing horror. He called for an emergency meeting. Within hours, the council chamber was full again. Ambassador Yuna stood on the central platform. Day was back on Earth, so she represented humanity alone. "You lied to us!" Crix shrieked. "You said those were cargo ships." "They are cargo ships," Yuna replied calmly. "The Morning Star carried 3,000 tons of grain. The Beowulf had 40,000 tons of refined minerals in its hold. They are civilian vessels with civilian crews. Armed civilian vessels." "Yes." Yuna looked around the chamber. "We armed them. Every human ship that leaves Earth's atmosphere has weapons and defense systems. Every human crew member knows how to fight. We thought this was normal." "It is not normal," another counselor shouted. "Civilian ships are civilian. Military ships are military. You cannot make them the same thing." "Why not?" Yuna asked. The question was so simple and direct that it silenced the chamber. "Our history is full of wars. We know what happens when civilians cannot defend themselves. They die. So we decided our civilians would be able to defend themselves. Every ship, every crew, always ready." "This is militarism," Crix said. "No," Yuna replied. "This is survival. For thousands of years, humans lived on a world where anything could kill you. Wild animals, disease, other humans. We learned that safety is not given. Safety is built. We extended that philosophy to space. Every ship that carries our people carries the means to protect those people." Counselor Molvara, who had been silent, finally spoke. The ancient being's voice filled the chamber. The Council laughed at human myths 6 months ago. Do you still find them funny, Crix? Crix said nothing. Humans told us about their gods of war, Molvara continued. They showed us stories of warriors who never surrendered. They shared legends of tiny forces defeating massive armies. We thought these were fantasies, but they were warnings. They were telling us exactly what they are. What are they? Someone asked quietly. Survivors, Molvara said. A species that has learned to fight and survive for so long that it has become their nature. You cannot separate a human from their readiness for violence any more than you can separate a bird from its wings. The council discussed and argued for hours. Finally, they voted. Humanity had not technically violated any rules. Their ships were civilian. Their weapons were defensive. Everything was legal according to council law. But throughout the galaxy, a new phrase was born. When someone mentioned human civilians, others would laugh nervously and say, "There is no such thing as a human civilian. There are only humans who are not fighting yet." Captain Jin heard about this later and smiled. He poured himself another cup of coffee and looked out at the stars. Let the galaxy learn. Let them understand. Humans came to space hoping for peace, but they brought their capacity for war with them, just in case. Because hope is not a strategy, and peace is not guaranteed. It is earned every day by being ready to defend it. The Corvin incident changed everything. The Galactic Council's Security Committee demanded answers. They sent an investigation team to Earth to audit humanity's military capabilities. Councillor Crix insisted that humans must be hiding a secret war fleet somewhere. Investigator Prex led the team. He was from a species known for being fair and neutral. His people had been judges and mediators in the galaxy for thousands of years. He arrived at Earth with 12 assistants and a long list of questions. Ambassador Yuna met them at the Lunar Orbital Station. "Welcome to our system, Investigator. We will show you everything you want to see." "I hope so," Prex said. His face was hard to read, but his voice was professional. "The Council needs to understand how 13 civilian ships defeated 30 Corvin warships. Some councilors believe you have hidden military vessels." "We have nothing to hide," Yuna replied. "Follow me." They took a shuttle to Earth Defense Command, a large station orbiting Earth. Admiral Siak met them there. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had commanded Earth's defense forces for 15 years. "Investigator Prex," Siak said, shaking the alien's hand. "You want to see our military fleet? Come with me." He led them to the command center where massive screens showed every human ship in the solar system. Prex's team immediately began scanning and counting. 45 patrol cruisers, one assistant reported. 12 heavy frigates, 3 carrier groups. This matches exactly what Earth reported to the Council. Prex looked confused. "These are all your warships?" "Everyone," Seok confirmed. "We have nothing else." "But these numbers..." Prex pulled up data on his tablet. "These numbers could not have defeated the Corvin fleet at Sabyok. We watched the battle. The power output from your ships was 10 times higher than these vessels could produce." "That is because the ships at Sabyok were not military vessels," Yuna said. "They were cargo ships." "Armed cargo ships," Prex corrected. "Yes." Prex looked at Admiral Sayok. "I need to see your military doctrine. Your training methods, your ship designs, everything." "Agreed," Sayok said. "But you will not like what you find." Over the next 3 days, Prex and his team examined everything. They visited shipyards and training facilities. They interviewed crew members and reviewed battle plans. They studied human ship designs in detail. On the 3rd day, Captain Nari took them aboard her ship, the Valkyrie, one of Earth's heavy frigates. She was a young captain, only 35, but she had served on military vessels since she was 18. "This is a standard Earth warship," Nari explained as they walked through the narrow corridors. Notice there are no luxury quarters, no entertainment decks, no observation lounges. Where do the crew relax? One of Prex's assistants asked. In their bunks during off-duty hours, Nari replied. This ship is 70% weapons, armor, and engines. 20% is life support and basic living space. 10% is redundant systems. Redundant systems? Prex asked. Nari smiled. Everything on this ship has a backup, and the backup has a backup. If you destroy one reactor, 3 more can power the ship. If you disable one weapon system, 5 others keep firing. If you kill half the crew, the other half can still fight the ship. She led them to the bridge. It was small and cramped, with every surface covered in controls and screens. Every person on this bridge can do every job. My pilot can run weapons. My weapon officer can navigate. I can do all of it if I have to. We cross-train every crew member for multiple positions. Why? Prex asked. Because in a real battle, people die, Nari said simply. We need to keep fighting even when we take casualties. Prex looked around the bridge. He had visited warships from dozens of species. They usually had comfortable chairs, nice lighting, and separate stations for each job. This human bridge looked like it was designed for one purpose only: fighting and surviving. How many crew does this ship carry? He asked. 48. 48? Prex was shocked. A frigate this size from most species carries at least 200 crew members. Those crews need comfort, Nari replied. Ours need efficiency. We use automation for most systems. The crew focuses on combat operations only. That evening, Prex met with Admiral Siak and Yuna in a conference room. He laid out his findings. I understand now, Prex said slowly. Your ships are designed completely differently from ours. When we build a warship, 40% of the space is for crew comfort. We have nice quarters, dining halls, entertainment facilities. Your ships have none of that. Correct, Siak said. Your ships are designed for war, real war, not the ceremonial conflicts we have had for thousands of years, but total war where survival is uncertain. Yes. Prex looked at his notes. But I am still confused about one thing. These military ships did not fight at Sabyok, so why did your civilian ships have such powerful weapons? Yuna leaned forward. Investigator, may I share something about human culture? Please. For 10,000 years of human history, we had a saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. We have been civilized for at least 8,000 years. Writing, cities, laws, art, science, all of it. But in those 8,000 years, we have been at peace for maybe 300 years total. 300 years out of 8,000? Prex was horrified. Yes. We spent most of our history fighting each other. We got very good at it. Then about 400 years ago, we finally started to achieve longer periods of peace. But we never forgot the wars. We could not afford to forget. Admiral Siak pulled up images on the main screen. These are from our world wars. The first was about 110 years ago. The second was about 30 years after that. In the Second World War alone, over 70 million humans died. After that war ended, we spent the next 100 years preparing to make sure it never happened again. How? Prex asked. We studied war, Siak replied. We analyzed every battle in human history. We learned from every mistake. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire world. We pointed them at each other for decades, neither side willing to attack because we knew it would end everyone. We called it mutually assured destruction. That sounds terrible. It was, but it worked. For 200 years, we have not had a major war on Earth. We learned to talk instead of fight. We formed a unified government. We reached for the stars. But we never forgot what we learned during the wars. Yuna stood and walked to the window, looking out at Earth below. When we built our first starships, we designed them to carry weapons. Not because we wanted to fight anyone, but because space is dangerous. We did not know what was out there, so we prepared for anything. Every ship? Prex asked. Every ship, every station, every colony. We prepare all of them to defend themselves. It is our way. This is not normal, Prex said quietly. Other species do not live like this. Other species did not have our history, Sayok replied. Most species in the Council developed on peaceful worlds. They had some conflicts, but nothing like what we experienced. They reached space and found a peaceful galaxy. They joined the Council and forgot about war entirely. We cannot forget, Yuna added. Even if we wanted to, we cannot. Our myths, our stories, our entire culture is built on remembering. We tell our children about ancient battles. We name our ships after warriors. We study military history in school, not because we love violence, but because forgetting would be dangerous. Prex sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he spoke. I need to see your mythological database again. Yuna brought up the same files that had made the Council laugh 6 months ago, the stories of war gods and heroes, the legends of impossible victories and terrible defeats. Look at this one, Prex said, pointing at a file. The story of Sparta, 300 warriors holding a pass against millions of enemies. The Battle of Thermopylae, Yuna confirmed. It happened about 2,500 years ago. You still remember it. You still tell this story to your children. Yes. Why? Because it teaches us something important, Yuna said. It teaches us that a small group of well-trained, well-prepared people can hold against overwhelming odds. It teaches us that sometimes you stand and fight even when you know you will lose. It teaches us about duty and sacrifice. Prex went through more stories. Each one was a lesson. Each one was an instruction. The myths were not entertainment. They were a survival manual written by ancestors for descendants. You do not tell these stories for fun, Prex realized. You tell them so you remember what you are capable of. Yes, Admiral Sayok said. The Council laughed at you. They did. They thought you were primitive. They did. But you were warning us. Prex looked at the Admiral. You were showing us exactly who you are, and we did not listen. Counselor Mulvera entered the room at that moment. The ancient silicon being had come to Earth quietly, without announcing the visit. I told them, Investigator. I told the Council that human myths were warnings. They did not listen to me either. Prex stood and bowed respectfully to the ancient counselor. You were right. I am always right, Mulvera said with what might have been amusement. I have lived long enough to recognize patterns. Humans are not unusual in being violent. Many species are violent, but humans are unusual in how they remember their violence. Other species forget and become peaceful. Humans remember and stay prepared. Is that bad? Prex asked. No, Mulvera replied. It is wise. Peace is wonderful, but peace is not natural. Peace is something that must be maintained, and maintenance requires strength. Humans understand this in their bones. They will protect the peace more fiercely than those who take it for granted. Prex returned to Helios Prime Station 2 days later. He presented his report to the full council. The chamber was silent as he spoke. Humans have not violated any of our rules, he concluded. They reported their military strength accurately. Their civilian vessels are armed because they believe all their vessels should be armed. This is unusual but not illegal. My recommendation is that we accept this as human culture and move on. But they are too dangerous, Crix protested. Dangerous to who? Mulvera asked. They have been in space for 200 years. How many species have they attacked? None, Prex admitted. How many wars have they started? None. Then perhaps they are dangerous only to those who attack them first. Mulvera's eyes glowed brighter. The Corvan marauders learned this lesson. Let us hope the rest of us are wise enough to learn it without testing them. The council voted. Humanity's status remained unchanged. They were still observers. But now, Everyone understood what that meant. The humans were watching, waiting, and always, always prepared. Back on Earth, Admiral Siak looked at the stars and allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy was beginning to understand. Humans did not want war, but if war came, they would be ready. Because being ready was the human way. The warning came from the edge of the galaxy where few ships traveled. An automated listening post detected massive energy signatures, ships, thousands of them, moving toward Council space. Intelligence Officer Rin was the first human to see the data. She was working the night shift at Earth's monitoring station when the alert came through. At first, she thought it was an error. The numbers were too large. No one had 3,000 warships. She ran the analysis 3 times. Each time the result was the same. A massive fleet was coming, and it was not friendly. Rin called her commander. Within an hour, the information was on Admiral Wu's desk. Within 3 hours, it was sent to the Galactic Council. The Vral Dominion had arrived. No one in Council space had heard of them. They existed beyond the explored regions, in the dark areas of the galaxy where the Council never went. They had been building their empire for centuries, conquering world after world. Now they wanted Council space. The Council called an emergency meeting on Helios Prime. Every species sent representatives. The chamber was full of worried aliens talking in hushed voices. Ambassador Hyun represented Earth. He was younger than Day, only 40, with sharp eyes and a military background. He had replaced Day as chief ambassador 3 months ago when the old man finally retired. Supreme Regent Vaxil appeared on the main screen. He was enormous, covered in dark scales with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red. "I am Vaxil, ruler of the Vral Dominion. Your galaxy now belongs to us. Surrender and serve or die. You have 30 days to decide." The transmission ended. The chamber exploded into panic. "We must negotiate," one counselor shouted. "We should offer them tribute," another called out. "Perhaps we can buy time with trade agreements." Counselor Crix stood. "We have had peace for 3,000 years. Surely we can talk to these Vrel and find a peaceful solution." Hyun listened to all of this and said nothing. He just watched and waited. The council decided to try diplomacy. They sent ambassadors to meet with Vaxil. The ambassadors never returned. Instead, a recording arrived showing their execution. The Vral attacked 1 week later. They hit 40 systems in the first month. The Council's peacekeeping forces tried to stop them and failed. Council warships were designed to look impressive and avoid fights. Vral warships were designed to kill. The Battle of Talaxa Prime lasted 6 hours. The Council sent their best fleet, 200 ships commanded by Councilor Crix's own military. The Vral sent 500 ships. When it was over, every Council ship was destroyed. Crix's home fleet was gone. His military commanders were dead. The Council met again. This time there was no confident talking. There was only fear. "We must surrender," Crix said quietly. He looked broken, old. "We cannot fight them." "If we surrender, we become slaves," Molvara said. "Better slaves than dead." "Is it?" The ancient being looked around the chamber. "For 3,000 years, this council has enjoyed peace. You built beautiful ships. You created art and science. You forgot how to fight. Now an enemy comes who remembers how to fight very well, and you want to give up after one battle." "What choice do we have?" someone asked. Molvara turned to look at Ambassador Hyun, who sat quietly in the observer section. "We have humans." The chamber went silent. Everyone turned to look at the human ambassador. Hyun stood and walked to the central platform. He moved with confidence like a soldier, not a diplomat. "You want our help?" "Yes," Molvara said. "After you laughed at us, after you gave us observer status, after you mocked our myths and called us primitive, now you want us to fight for you." "Yes," Molvara repeated. Hyun looked around the chamber. Do you all agree? Does the Council officially request Earth's military assistance? One by one, the councilors voted. Even Crix, who had laughed the loudest at human myths, voted yes. The result was unanimous. Very well, Hyun said. Earth will help. But you need to understand what you are asking for. You are asking us to go to war, real war. The kind of war we have spent 200 years trying to avoid, the kind of war we hoped we would never fight again. We understand, Crix said. No, you do not. Hyun's voice was hard now. For 3,000 years you have been at peace. You have forgotten what war actually means. You think war is two fleets shooting at each other until one surrenders. That is not war. That is a disagreement. Real war is what we did to each other on Earth for 10,000 years. Real war is when you commit everything you have to destroying your enemy. Real war is when you choose between victory and extinction. We are choosing now, Molvara said. The Vral offer us extinction or slavery. We choose to fight. Hyun nodded slowly. Then you need to understand something else. We have been gentle in this galaxy. We armed our ships and trained our people, but we followed your rules. We stayed in our territory. We did not expand aggressively. We tried to be good neighbors. Against the Vral, we will not be gentle. We will show you what humans actually are when we stop holding back. Show us, Molvara said. Admiral Wu arrived at Helios Prime 3 days later. He brought his command staff and a presentation. The council chamber filled again to hear Earth's military plan. Wu did not waste time on pleasantries. He pulled up a star map showing Vral positions. They have taken 40 systems in 2 months. They move fast and hit hard. Their ships outnumber ours 3-1. In any normal calculation, we should lose this war. Then how do we win? Crix asked. By not fighting normal, Wu replied. He pressed a button, and the map changed. New markers appeared. Lots of them. This is the Earth Defense Fleet. 45 patrol cruisers, 12 heavy frigates, 3 carrier groups. You have seen these ships. Those cannot defeat 3,000 Vral ships, someone protested. You are correct. Wu pressed another button. More markers appeared, hundreds of them. These are our reserve fleets. The chamber gasped. The new markers showed 3 complete battle fleets, each one as large as the defense fleet. When we left Earth to colonize space, Wu explained, we built these fleets. We built them in case we needed them. Then we put them in storage in hidden locations throughout our territory. We have maintained them for 200 years. Waiting. You hid military fleets from us? Crix was outraged. No. We stored reserve equipment, which is perfectly legal according to council law. You asked about our active military. These ships were not active. They were in storage. Wu smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. We followed your rules. You simply did not ask the right questions. How many ships? Prex asked. 340 warships. 12 planetary assault carriers, 8 dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts? Someone whispered. What is a dreadnought? Wu pulled up an image. The ship on the screen was massive, larger than any vessel the council had ever seen. This is the Ragnarok. She is 3 kilometers long. She carries enough weapons to level a planet. We built 8 of them 200 years ago. They have been waiting in storage ever since. Molvara made a sound that might have been laughter. You came to the galaxy with peace in your hearts and dreadnoughts in your closets. We hoped we would never need them, Wu said. Hope is good, but hope is not a plan. A plan is what you do when hope fails. Why did you build so much? Crix asked. Because we remember our history, Wu replied. We remember wars where we did not build enough ships, and we lost. We remember battles where we were unprepared, and people died. We learned our lessons. We swore we would never be unprepared again. So when we came to the stars, we built enough ships to defend ourselves against anything. Then we built more, just in case." "This is insane," someone muttered. "This is human," Molvara corrected. "This is what they tried to tell you with their myths. Gods of war, warriors who never surrender, heroes who face impossible odds. These were not stories, these were blueprints." Hyun stood beside Admiral Wu. "The Council needs to vote officially. Will you accept Earth's command of this war? Will you follow our orders? Will you let us fight the way we know how to fight?" The vote was quick. Yes, unanimous. "Then we begin immediately," Wu said. "We will mobilize all reserve fleets. We will activate every trained crew member. We estimate 3 weeks to full readiness. Then we go on the offensive." "Offensive?" Crix looked confused. "Should we not defend Council space?" "No," Wu said simply. "Defense is what you do when you want to delay. We do not want to delay. We want to win. So we will attack. We will hit them before they hit us. We will choose the battlefields. We will dictate the pace of the war. That is how you win." Over the next 3 weeks, the galaxy watched in amazement as Earth mobilized for war. Ships came out of storage. Crew members who had been living normal civilian lives reported for military duty. Factories that made consumer goods switched to making weapons and ammunition. Captain May commanded the carrier Achilles. She had been teaching literature at a university 3 weeks ago. Now she was back in uniform, preparing to lead her ship into battle. Her crew was the same. Teachers, doctors, engineers, farmers. All of them had military training. All of them were ready. "Is it strange?" her first officer asked. "Going from teaching students to commanding a warship?" May looked at the stars ahead. "Yes, but also no. I am still teaching. I am teaching the Vral Dominion the same lesson that every enemy of Earth has had to learn. You can defeat humans in a battle. You can destroy human ships. But you cannot make humans quit. We do not know how." The final ship to launch was the Ragnarok. Captain Seol commanded her. The massive dreadnought moved slowly through space, escorted by a dozen smaller vessels. Aliens watching on news feeds could not believe something so large could fly. "It is too big," one analyst said. "It will be an easy target." Admiral Wu heard about this comment and laughed. "They still do not understand. The Ragnarok is not supposed to be hard to hit. She is supposed to be impossible to kill, and when she starts shooting, the Vral will learn why we named her after the end of the world." On Helios Prime, Molvara stood at a window watching the human fleet assemble. Hyun stood beside the ancient being. "You warned us," Hyun said. "Months ago. You said our myths concerned you." "They did," Molvara replied. "They still do. But now I am grateful for them. You bring weapons that we cannot match. But more than that, you bring something else." "What?" "You bring memory. You remember how to fight total war. The Vral think they are the strongest because they have been conquering others. But they have been conquering species who forgot how to fight. You never forgot. That makes all the difference." The human fleet finished assembling. 350 ships hung in space, ready. Admiral Wu gave the order. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading into Vral-controlled territory. The galaxy held its breath. Peace had lasted 3,000 years. Now war had come, and Earth, the species everyone had laughed at, was humanity's last hope. The human fleet appeared at the edge of Vral territory like a storm, 350 ships against an empire of thousands. The galaxy watched through news feeds expecting disaster. They got something else entirely. Admiral Wu did not wait. He did not negotiate. He did not send warnings. He attacked. The first battle happened at a Vral supply base in the Kelros system. 50 Vral ships guarded the base, confident and relaxed. They had been conquering for months. They expected more easy victories. Captain May brought her carrier, the Achilles, in first. The carrier itself had weapons, but its real power was what it carried inside. 2,000 small fighters, each one piloted by a human who had trained for this moment. The Vral ships saw the carrier coming and prepared to fire. Then the carrier's bays opened and fighters poured out like a swarm of angry insects. 2,000 of them filled the space between the fleets. "What is this?" the Vral commander demanded. "No one uses this many small craft." They did not have long to wonder. The human fighters moved with perfect coordination. They did not fly randomly. They flew in patterns, each group covering another, each pilot knowing exactly where every other pilot was. It looked like a dance, but it was death. Vral ships had powerful weapons designed to destroy large targets. But the human fighters were too small, too fast, too many. Missiles could not track them. Big guns could not turn fast enough. The fighters swarmed around the Vral ships, cutting them apart piece by piece. The battle lasted 2 hours. All 50 Vral ships were destroyed. The supply base was gone. May lost 12 fighters, 12 pilots out of 2,000. She mourned everyone, but the mission was complete. Across Vral space, 5 other human task forces struck at the same time, surprise attacks hitting different targets. The Vral had never faced an enemy that attacked first. They had always been the attackers. Supreme Regent Vaxil received the reports with disbelief. 6 of our bases destroyed in one day? How? The humans fight differently, his advisor said. They do not wait, they do not defend, they attack everywhere at once. Then we will crush them with numbers. Vaxil ordered his full fleet to assemble. 1,200 ships gathered at Vral Prime, the capital world. Let them come. We will destroy them all in one battle. But Admiral Wu did not come to Vral Prime. He sent a message instead. Supreme Regent Vaxil, you gave the Galactic Council 30 days to surrender. We give you no time at all. Every day you continue this war, we will destroy more of your ships. Every week we will take back another system. You can surrender now, or you can watch your empire fall piece by piece. The choice is yours. Vaxil was furious. Find their fleet and destroy it. But finding the human fleet was not easy. Earth's ships did not stay in one place. They moved constantly, hitting targets and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. Wu divided his forces into smaller groups, each one attacking different locations. The Vral sent their ships to chase the humans, but the humans were always gone before the Vral arrived. In the second week, the real monster appeared. Captain Seal brought the Ragnarok into the Battle of Thavros. A Vral fleet of 200 ships was moving to attack a council world. Seal's dreadnought appeared between the Vral fleet and their target, completely alone. One ship? The Vral commander laughed. They send one ship to stop 200? The Ragnarok opened fire. The dreadnought had weapons that the galaxy had never seen. Railguns that fired projectiles at a fraction of light speed. Missile batteries that could launch 1,000 missiles in 1 minute. Energy weapons that could cut through any armor. And shields that could take a beating from 100 ships without breaking. The Vral fleet fired everything they had at the Ragnarok. The massive ship shook from the impacts, but its shields held. Meanwhile, Seol's weapons crews worked with perfect efficiency. Target, fire, target, fire. One by one, Vral ships exploded. "All weapons on that ship!" the Vral commander screamed. "Focus all fire!" But focusing fire meant the Vral ships stopped moving. They became easier targets. The Ragnarok's computers calculated trajectories faster than any living being could. Every shot hit. Every missile found its target. The battle lasted 14 hours. The Ragnarok destroyed 117 Vral ships by itself. When reinforcements finally arrived, Captain Seol had been holding the line alone, protecting the council world behind him. His ship was damaged, but still flying, still fighting. News of the battle spread across the galaxy. A single human ship had held off 200 enemies. The species that had been laughed at for their myths had just proven those myths were real. They named their ship Ragnarok, Molvara explained to the shocked council. In human mythology, Ragnarok is the final battle at the end of the world. A battle so terrible that gods themselves die. They built a ship and named it after the end of everything. That tells you what they expect their warships to do. By the third week, the Vral were desperate. They had lost hundreds of ships. Their supply lines were broken. Their conquered territories were rebelling. Supreme Regent Vaxil made one final plan. He would gather everything he had left, 1,200 ships, and attack Earth itself. If he could destroy the human homeworld, the war would end. The Vral fleet jumped into the solar system expecting to find Earth defended by perhaps 50 ships. Instead, they found Admiral Wu waiting with the entire human fleet. 350 warships in perfect formation. "All ships," Wu ordered calmly. "Battle formation. For Earth. For the galaxy. Show them what humans do when you threaten our home." The Battle of Earth lasted 30 hours. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. 1,200 Vral ships against 350 human ships. The numbers favored the Vral 3-1. The humans won anyway. Vaxil watched his fleet fall apart. Every time his ships fired missiles, the humans shot them down before they hit. Human point defense systems were too good, too fast. The Vral had been using missiles as their main weapon. Against Earth, missiles were useless. "How?" Vaxil demanded. "How do they stop every missile?" His advisor pulled up intelligence files. "We finally found information about human history. They fought a war on their homeworld 400 years ago, a nuclear war. They spent the next 3 centuries perfecting missile defense. They can track and destroy thousands of missiles simultaneously. Our technology is 400 years behind theirs in this area." "What about close combat?" Vaxil asked. They tried. Vral ships moved in close to use their energy weapons. The humans met them head-on, ship to ship, gun to gun. Captain May's Achilles went directly at the Vral flagship. Her fighters cleared the way, destroying escort ships. When she was close enough, she fired everything. The flagship tried to run, but human ships were faster. They had been built for speed and aggression. Throughout the battle, human ships showed something the Vral could not understand. They worked together perfectly. Every ship knew what every other ship was doing. When one ship was damaged, another covered it. When one ship ran low on ammunition, another took its place. They moved like one being with 350 bodies. "They fight like a pack of predators," a Vral captain reported. "Coordinated, efficient, deadly." The battle turned. Vral ships began to retreat, but retreating was not easy. Human fighters pursued them. Human warships cut off escape routes. Admiral Wu had planned for this. He had positioned his ships to make retreat as costly as advancing. When night fell on Earth, the battle was ending. 890 Vral ships were destroyed. The rest were crippled or fleeing. The human fleet had lost 23 ships, 23 crews who would never come home. Wu stood on his bridge and observed a moment of silence for them. "They died protecting Earth," he said quietly. "We will remember them." But the war was not over. The surviving Vral ships limped back to Vral Prime. Supreme Regent Vaxil gathered his military command. The captured human, taken from one of the destroyed ships, was brought before him. "Your fleet should have lost," Vaxil said to the wounded human pilot. "We had more ships." "Why did we lose?" The pilot looked at him with tired eyes. "Because you thought numbers mattered. You thought having more ships meant you would win. But wars are not won by numbers. They are won by the side that is willing to do whatever it takes to survive. We were willing to fight." "No, you were willing to conquer. That is different. Conquerors stop when the cost gets too high. Survivors keep going no matter the cost. Earth has survived ice ages, plagues, meteor impacts, and our own stupidity. We are very good at surviving." Vaxil killed the pilot in rage. Then he sent a message to Admiral Wu. He was willing to negotiate a peace. Wu's response was simple. You have 24 hours to surrender completely. No negotiations, no discussions. Surrender or we will continue this war until your empire no longer exists. 24 hours? Vaxil was stunned. That is not enough time to negotiate anything. We do not negotiate, Wu replied. We win or we die. You attacked council space. You executed their ambassadors. You threatened our home. There is nothing to negotiate. Surrender or fight. Choose. Vaxil chose to fight. He sent word that the war would continue. Admiral Wu gave new orders. All ships, prepare for orbital strikes. We end this now. The human fleet jumped to Vrail Prime. They appeared in orbit around the Vrail home world. Every ship targeted military installations with perfect precision. Bases, command centers, weapon factories, communication hubs. You will not dare attack our home world, Vaxil broadcast. There are civilians here? We are attacking military targets only, Wu replied. Every strike is precise. Every target is verified. We will not harm civilians. But your military ends today. The orbital strikes began. Human weapons hit their targets with terrifying accuracy. One command center, one missile base, one shipyard, all destroyed with surgical precision. The Vral military watched their entire command structure disappear in 48 hours. The Vral generals, seeing their leaders had led them to disaster, mutinied. They captured Vaxil and sent word to the humans. They were surrendering. Admiral Wu accepted the surrender. The war was over. 6 weeks after it began, the Vral dominion that had conquered for centuries was defeated. The human fleet returned to council space. The journey home took a week. When they arrived at Helios Prime, the council chamber was full. Every species had sent representatives. They stood as Admiral Wu entered. Counselor Crix spoke first. His voice was humble. You saved us. What do you want in return? Territory? Resources? Tribute? Wu looked around the chamber. We want what we have always wanted. Peace. We came to the stars hoping we had left war behind. We prepared for war because we know hope is not enough. We fought this war not because we wanted to, but because someone had to. Now it is over. We would like to go home. But you have earned more than observer status, Prex said. The Council wishes to offer you a permanent seat on the Security Council, full military authority, the right to command Council forces in any future conflict. We accept the seat, Wu said. But we hope there will be no future conflicts. We have seen enough war for 1,000 lifetimes. Molvara stepped forward. The ancient being looked at the human admiral with glowing eyes. Your species will either save this galaxy or doom it. Perhaps both. We choose to save it, Wu replied. Every day we choose peace. But we remember war. We remember it in detail so we know what we are avoiding. Our myths taught us that. The Council passed a new law, the Human Clause. Earth could maintain any military force it deemed necessary, with no limits. The galaxy finally understood. You do not limit the one species that knows how to fight and chooses not to. The human fleet returned to Earth to parades and memorials. Every ship that was lost had a memorial built. Every pilot who died had their name carved in stone. Earth celebrated the victory but mourned the cost. Captain May returned to her university. She taught literature again, but now she also taught military history. Her students asked her what the war was like. It was terrible, she said honestly. Every battle, I knew that people were dying. Humans and Vral both. I did what I had to do, but I took no joy in it. War is not glorious. War is necessary sometimes, but it is never good. Then why do we prepare for it? A student asked. Because evil exists, May replied. Because there will always be those who think they can take what they want by force. Our myths taught us about heroes and monsters. The lesson was not that we should be heroes. The lesson was that when monsters come, someone must stand against them. We prepare so that when the time comes, we can stand. Captain Seol retired after the war. He bought a small house by a lake and spent his days fishing and writing poetry. Reporters asked him about the Battle of Thavros, where he held off 200 ships alone. "I did what any human would do," he said simply. "There were people behind me who needed protection. I was the only thing between them and danger. So I stayed. That is what we do. We stand when we must stand." Admiral Wu returned to his office on Earth Defense Station. He wrote his final report about the war. The last line was simple. "We do what is necessary. We mourn what we must do. We remember so we never forget the cost. And we hope that by being prepared for war, we make war less likely. That is the human way." In the council chamber on Helios Prime, a new memorial was built. It listed every species that had fought against the Vral. Earth's name was at the top. Below it was an inscription in human writing. "We are the children of warriors who learn to build gardens. May we never forget either skill." The galaxy learned its lesson. Humans were not savage. They were not primitive. They were a species that remembered violence with such clarity that they could choose peace with full understanding of what they were choosing. They prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. They built weapons and prayed they would never use them. And when the monsters came, when the galaxy needed someone to stand against the darkness, Earth stood. Not because they loved fighting, but because standing against evil when no one else can is what humans do. The myths were never lies. They were instructions. Remember what you are capable of. Remember what you survived. Remember how to fight so you can choose peace. Remember the monsters so you know when to become one. The galaxy dismissed human myths as primitive stories. Then Earth's warships arrived, and the galaxy learned what those myths really were: a promise, a warning, and a legacy written in the stars by a species that would not quit, would not surrender, and would always, always protect what they loved. The war ended, peace returned, and somewhere in the darkness between stars, other empires heard about what happened to the Vral Dominion. They heard about the species that seemed peaceful but remembered war. They heard about the ships named after the end of worlds and the pilots who held impossible lines, and they decided to leave human space alone. That was the real victory. Not the battles won or ships destroyed, but the message sent: humans want peace. But if you bring war, they will show you why their myths are full of heroes who face gods and monsters and win. The galaxy understood at last. Peace had guardians now, and those guardians were very, very good at their job.